Gonna jump right in. My name is Jonathan Corsandy here with ProbateData, and you are Peter, Judy, Kathy, Minerva, Glenn, Josephine. Let's see who else we got in here. Linda. All right. It's going to be an intimate crowd today. I'm enjoying that. So we started the recording. Here's what we're going to cover today. I figure what we do is go into some prospecting strategies with the data that you already have. So if you're looking for new and novel ways, or maybe just proven ways to actually go in and prospect with the data that you already have, I want to rehash what we did back at the beginning of the year. I want to go over it one more time for those of you that didn't attend this webinar back in the beginning of the year. So we're going to go over it one more time. And what we'll learn today is some strategies that you can prospect using your existing data. So there's 5 of them. We'll go over, I think we'll be able to go over all 5 of them today. And then from time to time, I'll pull you guys in and see if anyone's had any experience with these, and you can share with the group what it's been like for you. So this is ProbateData Powergym, 10 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, and we're gonna dive in. Today, I'm gonna do my best to keep it at half an hour. Obviously, if there's a good conversation going on and we got a little bit back and forth, we'll keep it going. But if it's just me talking, then we'll keep it at 30 minutes, okay? All right, let's dive in. Let's dive in. Here we go. Share the screen. And let me know if you are seeing a PowerPoint screen. Yeah.
ProbateData Powergym, June 12th.
Yes, that's the one you see, right? That's all you see, right? There's no notes or anything like that.
Yeah, that's all I see.
Okay, good. All right, we're on the right track. Ever since that experience a couple of weeks ago, I'm slightly paranoid. People are seeing the wrong screen. All right, so we're going to go over these prospecting strategies and then the possible objections that can come that can come along the way and how to overcome those objections. So when we get to the possible objections, I want to hear from you guys, and then we're going to think about like some ways we can overcome those objections. So again, here, guys, keep in mind, you already have access to this data. We've been emailing you data now on a regular basis. A lot of many counties are opening up, like LA County is opening up. We've been sending new leads out. And you get this in your inbox, you can sort your spreadsheet and start finding these little golden nuggets and new strategies and organize your leads. There's other videos and other classes on how to organize your leads, so you can go rewatch those on youtube.com/ProbateData. Or if you're still part of the CPress membership, you can go into your portal. There's a bunch of classes in there as well. So we're not going to go into that today. We're just going to assume that you know how to stay organized and you know how to manage your data, right? So the first proven strategy is this. Actually, here's all 5 of them. And some of these are, you probably know already, right? So there's the out-of-state PR. I'm just going to go through all of them, and then I'll go into depth in each one. The out-of-state PR, the pro per or pro se in some states is called that. Attorneys, beneficiaries, historical prospecting. And then this, if we have time, we'll do like a niche within a niche. It's very specific, and hopefully we'll have time for that. So out-of-state PRs, let's dive into that one. What's the context here? And each one I go into, it's going to be broken into four things here, right? Context, why it works, how it works, and your first steps, if this is something that appeals to you. So out-of-state PRs, here's the context. You probably heard me talk about this before. Let's imagine, you know, the PR lives in New York. Grandma passed away in Los Angeles. And now the grandson is in charge of has been named as the PR, and he's accepting the job. And now he's in New York. Grandma's home is in LA. Now he hasn't visited grandma for a while, so you know, shame on him first of all. But also he doesn't really know what the property is like and what it's worth. So that's the context, right? He knows New York. He doesn't know LA. So here's the reason why it works. The reason why it works is because the grandson, let's call him Bob, the grandson, he, as you know, like with all PRs, he now has a huge workload, right? So in the first 30 days or so, he's just getting familiar with the job. And then the next 30 days, so 30 to 60 days, he's probably thinking about, I need to move forward with this. So the context of why it works is you are offering help to someone who's away from the market that you're in. So you're the local expert. So 2 things, you're CPress, right? Certified Probate Real Estate Specialist. and you're a local expert in the market where grandma's house was. So the way it works, here's how it works. You can do different campaigns to the grandson here. Let's call him Bob, right? So you can reach out to Bob in many different ways. You can either call him, you can mail him. But the approach here is this, like, look, I understand you're in New York and grandma's house is, you know, in LA, specific address or neighborhood. You guys can do the mail merge just like I taught you a few weeks ago. And I just so happen to be expert in this area. This is my area. This is what we've sold. And if you never sold in this area, your company probably has. We've sold many homes here. We always get top dollars. But in addition to that, I'm actually certified in probate, and I'd love to meet with you next time you come out here. Or I'd love to have a conversation with you. What's your biggest challenge? So those are the types of conversations, how it works. So your first step is obviously find the PRs that are out of state. So there's two ways you can do that. The easy way is you take all these leads that we've been sending you over the last 10 weeks almost, and you just sort them all out. And then you look at the historical prospecting, right? This is actually the niche within the niche that we're going to talk about later, because these are the leads we've been sending you for the last 8-9 weeks. There's a lot of historical prospecting there. And so these are older cases files. So you have to do a little bit of research, make sure it hasn't been sold yet. As far as we can tell in Zillow, it hasn't sold. And then you reach out to the grandson. So your first step is to find these people. So when you sort your lists, you just look for the PR state column that shows anything but your state. So let's say if you're in California, you remove all the ones that are California, and now you just have all the ones that are not California, right? So now these are out-of-state PRs, and you start your outreach campaign. So that's your first strategy, out-of-state PRs. It works really, really well. It takes a little bit more work, a little bit more patience, because you got to dig through a little bit, but it's very, very targeted. And that's the beauty of it. And I can tell you not many people or not many agents are doing this. And just by the sheer fact that there's only about 12 of us here today, you're in a lead company right now. So you know about the strategy. Now, the next one is Improper and Pro Se. So Improper is in California, and in some states you call it Pro Se. So here's how this works. First of all, what it means, the context. The context is someone filed for probate, and they decided they're going to act as their own attorney. They're not going to hire an attorney. They believe they can get it done themselves. Excuse me. Get a drink of water here. So while they believe they can do it themselves, obviously they get into it, and then shortly, within about a month or two, they might find that they're in over their head. So that's the context, right? The context is they believe they can be their own attorney. So the reason why this works, why you reach out to them, is this. You can align with them and how much is going on and say, I noticed you're handling all this by yourself. You haven't hired an attorney. Good for you. Obviously, you know what you're getting into. But I can imagine it's a lot of work having to figure out the paperwork, the flows, and all that. Would it be okay if I sent you a flow chart? Would it be okay if I send you a book to help you during these times? Right? So it's an extra layer of empathy, because at first you're saying, I understand you're the PR, but in addition to that, you're acting as the attorney. Now, sometimes, not all the time, every now and then you get a pro per that happens to be an attorney, they know what they're doing. Okay, but don't worry about those. Just go in and talk to the ones that are in pro per and pro se. The reason why it works is because I would say 8 out of 10 times they get in over their head. They didn't know what they got into, and they're just getting frustrated, right? So 2 things you can do. You can say, look, I'm glad you're handling this by yourself. We can figure this out. Would you like me to handle the sale of the real estate? Would you like me to handle the sale of the real estate? That's one more thing that you don't have to deal with, don't have to worry about, right? But actually, you can use that line in any instance, but in this instance, it's in a pro per. So what I like about this is how it works. It's so easy. Again, all the leads we've been sending you, either the ones we've been sending you or continue to send you, or if you want to log into ProbateData and do your search there, you can do that as well. You just look at the lawyer name. So your next steps are basically look up your spreadsheet and you look at the column with the lawyer name, and it says pro per or pro se, right? And sometimes you'll see in the lawyer name column, or sometimes you'll see in the petitioner, it says their name, like Bob Smith, and then it says comma pro per or pro se, pro per or pro se, right? So that's why that works really well. I'm going to take a quick breather here and see if there's any questions. Let's see here. No, we're good. We're good. Okay, no questions. Keep going.
John,
Yes.
Jonathan, is there a way to do a search on that pro per pro se in the actual data, the probate data, before we download it?
Yeah, you can go in there. So if you are if you're searching for per se, so you go into the probate data, you pull it up, and then you do the expanded search, the more advanced search, and then in the attorney name, you just put in per, and you see what comes up, or per se. I think it's per and per se. Yeah, I think I mistyped that there. So you put that in there, and then it will search the database for anyone that with that name, so to speak, and then it'll pull it up for you. So you can start downloading there. But like I said, if we've been emailing you and we continue to email you, you don't have to do that. We're emailing you everything that's been filed in probate data, so you can just search your spreadsheet for that name. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, great. So those are your first step, is basically going in there and just search for pro per and pro se in the lawyer column or in the PR name column. And like Peter brought up, if you want to go look at it inside your probate data account, you can find it there as well. Absolutely. Okay, next one is going to be attorneys. Attorneys, I like it because they're all business, right? They don't really have an emotional attachment to the situation, but because they're all business, I know that attorneys can be intimidating to some people. I personally love working with attorneys because I can get straight to the point, and it's easy negotiations, and it just works for me. The reason why attorneys is a good long-term strategy. So if you're just starting out and you really want to get a listing sooner rather than later, I recommend you go focus on PRs, right? On the executors and administrators, because they're the decision maker and you get there faster and they need to make a decision faster. A good secondary strategy is working with the attorneys. So there's a couple things to give you guys some context here. The context is attorneys are obviously dealing with probate cases all the time, and they come across probate cases. Now you have a database inside of probate data, and you have all the spreadsheets we've been sending you. You have a bunch of attorneys in there. There's good marketing material there for you. You have a phone number, you have an email a lot of times. So you can either call them or email them regarding a specific case. So the reason why this works is if done right, you can get to a great referral source. If done wrong, they'll never refer you anything. So let me tell you how to do it right and how to not do it wrong. The way you do it right is you reach out and you offer referrals to them. Say, hi, I'm a certified probate real estate specialist. I have access to all the cases in our county. And from time to time, I like working with PRs, and I understand you're working with Miss Rosie or whatever regarding this case number. That's actually not why I'm calling, because I see she already has you as an attorney. I've just been working with the PR, reaching out to the PR. But I want to tell you that I oftentimes I get cases that come across my desk that don't have an attorney. And as you know, this can be a lot of work for someone who doesn't know what they're doing. Unlike you know what you're doing. You can butter them up a little bit. That's okay. They like that. Would it be okay if I referred you cases like that? Is that okay? Is that within the realm of ethical? Like, is that okay? Can I send you referrals? Will you take on probate cases? Do you have room? Do you have the capacity to take on more probate cases? I'm pretty sure that like no attorney will say no, I don't want referrals, or no, you can't send me any referrals, right? So that's why it works, right? So the how is obviously you go and you look for it in your spreadsheet, and you just have a database there of attorneys. The way I would do is I would look at the most prominent ones, the ones that get a lot of probate business, because obviously they found a way, they found a niche, and I would start with them because they're open to it and they're actively engaged with cases, and then just kind of work with the ones that I've just the one-offs that are in there as well. And this is a good way for you to also build your referral list of people. Like, so when you have your list of people, of professionals that you can introduce to the PR, that's a great way to build that list out by adding those attorneys that you like. You might come across one or two attorneys that you really like. You guys hit it off. Maybe you have a lunch, and that relationship starts developing. You put that person on your list, right? You don't put 15 people on your list. You just put one or two maybe. So your first step is going to be, again, go through your spreadsheets and look them up, or go through probate data. So here's a question from Joe. How do you handle leads where there's no address for the deceased? Excellent question. Really good question. It actually ties into my next one here. Well, it doesn't have, well, let me just answer the question. So there's several ways. You can, first of all, you can look up tax records for the deceased name and see if there's property taxes being paid. I know they're really big on that in Arizona because Arizona is a closed state. So some states, some counties, they're closed, which means they don't disclose the address of the deceased, or it's not required. It's just not required, right? So you have to get a little bit creative. So look up property tax records for the deceased. And also what you can do, and this is one of Mike Torres's strategies, and I think is brilliant. He just calls up to find out what's going on if there's a property. He calls the PR and he says, "Hey, I'm Mike Torres. You don't know me. And the reason why I'm calling is I noticed that you're the PR for the state of so and so, and I'm just wondering that the real estate is. Are you going to rent it or are you going to sell it?" And now, assuming that they're open to sharing that information, like. Sometimes you'll get called, "Who are you again? What do you want? I don't want to talk to you." Okay, all that aside, you follow up. And then the key question is, are you going to rent or sell the property in the estate? One of two answers. First answer could be, "I don't know what you're talking about. There's no real estate. My mistake, sorry." You cross that off, you move on. Second answer is like, "We don't know yet. We haven't decided." Ah, there's real estate. Well, maybe I can help you. You know, have you ever managed properties before? Have you rented it out, dealt with tenant laws and all that? And then you just start the conversation, start finding out what's your biggest challenge right now, right? And you get into that conversation. So if you don't have an address, and to Joe's point, then those are the two ways I would go about it. Look through the property tax records, but also, you know, just call them. Kathy's asking, after sending the first letter, when should the first call be made? I would say within a few days. Make sure they got the letter. Brad says within 7 to 10 days. I'd say within 5 to 7 days. It's really what makes sense for you. If you touch each lead once a week, either with a letter or a call or a postcard or multiple calls, I think that's fine. I think that's fine. You just keep moving up. Let's see here. Next one is going to be beneficiaries. Beneficiaries, here we go. So just to recap, what are beneficiaries? Beneficiaries, also known as heirs, right? These are the people that are standing in line to get paid out once this all settles. So this is a kind of a roundabout way of that work for some agents. I know agents that all they do is work for beneficiaries to help them create leverage and to do the research and what's really going on. So by the time they have, you know, talked to the beneficiaries that are in there, the agent's kind of in their pocket, so to speak. And they're like, "Oh, we like this agent, you should work." So they're creating like what's called like a circle of leverage or a circle of influence around the PR. I think it's, I personally wouldn't use it. That's just me. I'm more of a direct kind of a person, but for some agents, I can see how this will work, where you reach out to beneficiaries, ask them what will they do with the money they're going to make out of this, or how can they help them? As you know, is your brother who's handling the estate, is anything I help him with? You know, find out what's going on, go around, and then what I would do is then call the PR. So the context is this: the beneficiaries, they're all waiting to get paid, so they're motivated, and the reason why it works is because they're more likely to share information than the PR more freely, because they don't have to do all the work. They're just gonna give an earful of why, you know, what's going on, and maybe certain dramas or whatever. So you have to be patient with that. And again, here how it works is you get your leads, and then there's columns with all the beneficiaries. We list up to 12 different beneficiaries with their mailing address and their names. But you do have to look up phone numbers. Okay, so you look up the resources that we provided in the past with all the areas, all the sites that provide easy lookup for phone numbers, and you go that way. So your first steps are going to be going through your list again and finding the beneficiaries. And again, here this is an indirect kind of a way to get that done. All right, hold on a second. There's someone. Oh, I'm just going to mute Catherine real quick. There you go. Okay. Now, the next one here. Let's see. There's some questions. Martine, I've been concerned about reaching out to beneficiaries in case it upsets the PR. who has the authority. Valid point, Martine. Valid point. You know, if you don't want to do it, don't do it. Again, guys, I'm giving you 5 different strategies. Doesn't mean you have to do all 5 of them. You pick one that you feel strongly about and you go with that. Like if I had to do something right now and I need to go get a listing, I would just pick up the phone, call PRs. That's all I would do, because they're the decision maker, and I would build a relationship with them and see how I could help them. And if I didn't have access to PRs, I would call the attorneys, right? And if you're not comfortable calling the beneficiaries, it's okay. Don't do it. Some people are fine with it, you know. Now, the next one is there we go, historical prospecting. Now, you guys have heard me go over this over and over and over and over again. So why don't one of you guys tell me about historical prospecting? I need a volunteer to come up in front of the class. Do we have anyone? Do we have any volunteers while my daughter loses it downstairs?
I say with historical prospecting,
yeah,
these homes, it's been a while, so they're probably ready to buy, and not too many people are marketing to them. I mean, but ready to sell, and not too many people are marketing to them.
That's exactly right. So historical prospecting, like Glenn mentioned, he nailed it, is like there's not a lot of people that are prospecting because they were filed a while ago, and the property most likely has not sold it. Because what you want to keep in mind, the average case in probate takes about 12 months to settle, right? And that happens about 85-90% of the time. They settle and close it out within 12 months, or the property at least would sell within 12 months. Let me put it that way. That means there's 10 to 15% of the time where the property takes longer than 12 months to sell, for whatever different reasons. There was roadblocks along the way. It doesn't really matter. What matters is that there's motivated sellers that no one's prospecting to in historical prospecting. So while the courthouses were closed, we were sending you emails with historical prospecting, and all we did was just check it against Zillow about the last sale date, and then I'd say 70% of the time there's an opportunity there. 30 to 40% of the time the property's already sold, or it's been transferred within the family, and it's just not, there's not a good lead there for you. So historical prospecting works really well. I keep talking about Jerry Merbury. If you guys go to a YouTube channel and youtube.com/ProbateData, and then you see case studies and stories, Jerry Merbury's right in there, and he talks about how he just really got himself out of a hole and became a 6-figure earner and one of the top 1% out of 500 agents in his firm, just using this strategy. And it was all handwritten notes, and he just sent it out and he called people. And he was so surprised that like PRs actually want to talk to him. Like, as a matter of fact, yeah, I think we're ready because, you know, whatever happened, and no one's been calling me, no one's prospecting. So that's historical leads. So Tony's asking, are the historical calls more likely to be one call to find out if they want to sell? If not, you cross them off the list. Yeah, I would say it's a one or two calls, get them on the phone. And like I said, just like, let's say if you have 10 leads like that, you're going to find 3 or 4 that are not valid. They're just not like, no, we already transferred, we don't want to sell, blah, blah, blah. But then you got about 6 or 7 that where there's an opportunity. They'll say, yeah, you know, we're almost ready. We're kind of there. Oh my God, that was such a headache. I think we're ready. Just hear them out. Like, I noticed it's been a while. I'm just doing my due diligence here. You know, this is my market, my expertise. I just want to make sure you don't go unnoticed here. We help, and I always say we help people just like you going through situations like you're in right now, sell the property for top dollar so the estate can get settled. Is that something that appeals to you? Is that something you would like? Would you like to settle the estate? What's your biggest challenge? I always go back to what's your biggest challenge? Get them to talking, right? Don't try to impress them with how amazing you are and all the certificates that you have. Just get them to talking. Okay. I'm just reading a question right now from Kathy. Hold on. Kathy, you want to unmute yourself? And you can tell this story quickly yourself. Okay, so I spoke to an executive yesterday, which lives, Kathy, is that you?
Yeah, hold on.
Okay, go ahead. Okay. All right, this is a good question. I'm just going to repeat it out. So Kathy said, I spoke to an executor yesterday, which lives out of state, and she referred me to a relative who lives in the area of the decedent. I told him what I do, and they're in the process of clearing out the property. The executor will not be coming into town until it's safer to travel. How would you follow up with this case? Keep calling the executor or the relative? So I have some thoughts on that, but let me hear from the class. What do you guys thought? So this situation is executors out of state. They have a relative in the area of the decedent. Executor doesn't want to travel to come see the property until things are safer, but they're clearing out the property. So they're getting ready to move forward, right? So there's motivation there. What would you do if you were in Kathy's shoes?
I would be following up with a local relative, trying to build a relationship with them so that by the time the executive comes out, the local Johnny on the spot can say, hey, look, we've got the place cleaned out. We've got a realtor all lined up ready. And the out-of-state guy is going to have to rely on the local people for advice anyway. So that's the best way of going about it in my head.
All right. Yeah. Good one, Peter. Anybody else?
Yes, I would do the same that Peter said, but I would also send some emails to the PR very often and let them know, you know what, me and the local person talked about. Not even necessarily trying to hold conversation, just emails, so that I'm present. I'm in kind of like in their face.
Yeah.
Letting them know I'm on the job.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, I like that idea of keeping the PR in the loop as you're communicating with the local person, and so the PR doesn't feel like you're going behind their back. I like that. That's a good point. Good call, Glenn.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks.
So here's what I would do, and that's, again, it's just my style, right? My personality. Kathy, I would talk to the executive. Say, well, I understand you're concerned about traveling out here. Is that correct? Yeah, it doesn't feel safe. Okay, so if there's a way to get this done without you having to travel out here, would you be interested? What do you mean? Well, I can work with Susan, let's call her Susan, which is the relative that lives in the market. I'm happy to work with Susan to help, with my list of professionals that can help clear up the property, change the locks if you want to. Let's go through a listing appointment at the house. Right? We can FaceTime, we can walk through it. And if you're okay with Susan and me doing the work and you can just sign off on it, we can get this thing settled and you never have to take a risk flying out here. And if the executor is like in the high risk group for COVID, health-wise or age-wise, he or she, she's probably going to appreciate that. So tap into the concern is like, I don't want to travel until it's safe. Okay, what if you didn't have to travel? What if we could do this without you traveling here? What do you mean? Well, we could do all this. We could list the property all electronically. You could sign it from the comfort of your home. I'll work with Susan, your relative, and getting everything staged. And all we have to do to get this thing started was to sign a listing agreement. So what you have to do is basically tie into, we can't hear you, Kathy, we can't hear you. All you have to do is basically tie into the executor's concern and then resolve it, right? Remember, you guys are problem solvers. You're solving problems for people that are going through stuff. So solve the problem. The biggest concern is, I don't want to go out there. So find out. And if that's not the case, then dig deeper. What's the motivation? How motivated are they? Like, are you in a rush? Do you want to sell this sooner rather than later? And if you know what the property is worth and you know if there's any debt on it, you can even go further. It's like, well, what are you going to do with the proceeds? Is this going to help you pay off some debt? Is this going to help you? Have you lost a job? I imagine like with $400,000 equity, it could be helpful to you and your relatives. So paint them a picture of how they can get all the benefits without all the headache. The headache being she has to travel out there. Kathy, let me see if I can unmute you. Oh, it doesn't look like it's letting me unmute you. I'm sorry about that. That's a Zoom thing going on.
Jonathan?
Yes, Minerva, go ahead.
I would do what you suggested, but I will always start with, may I have your permission to do, and then go into the way you explained it.
Yeah.
Because I always want to make sure that I have their permission to do it, and they feel better when we're asking them if
Yeah.
it's okay for us to do it.
Yeah. Brilliant. I guess, so again, here, just adapt it to your style, right? Again, I'm very direct. I go straight to the heart of the matter. I do it with some tact, hopefully. And some of you might want to build a relationship sooner and then find out what's going on. So everyone just adapt it to your style. But Kathy, definitely keep following up, keep calling on the executor, keep calling the relative, but just ask them that simple question. What if you didn't have to travel? What would that mean for you? Well, that would, because in her mind, she might think she has to be out here, you know? She might be misinformed or miseducated. So go out there and educate her. Great question, Kathy. Thank you. Okay, so now let's see, time-wise, where we're at. Oh, we're good. Okay. So the last one I've already talked about a little bit, the niche within the niche, right? So that's the, again, historical prospecting, out-of-state PR. So I'm not going to repeat that unless you guys want me to. I think we've covered that pretty well. Niche within a niche, historical plus out-of-state PR. You guys have been getting a lot of historical stuff emailed to you, so just look for the ones that are out of state. And I would find the phone number and just call them. You don't have to mail out a bunch of stuff. Like, hey, what's going on? What's the story, right? All right, let's see if there's any other questions. Let's see here. Whoa. Okay. So Kathy typed in her answer. The relative wants to come out to view the more expensive items. Also, I was told they have a family member that is a real estate agent, and the relative stated he did not know why the need of a probate real estate. So I sent the relative the timeline and executor's duties. Okay, those are really good objections, right? These are really challenging objections. So the first objection is, so not objection, but she's like, I need to travel. I want to see the more expensive items. So maybe there's some family, expensive artwork, expensive rugs, heirlooms, things like that, that she might have to look at, and she's in charge of figuring out what has to be done with that. That's a fair point. So you can't really push the point of why do you have to travel out here. So she told you why she has to travel out here. The next thing she said, I was told they have a family member that's a real estate agent, and the relative stated, I don't know why we need a probate real estate agent. All right, so let me hear from you guys. How would you overcome that objection? I have a cousin who's a real estate agent. Why do we need a CPRES agent? Go. If someone told you that, what would you say?
A CPRES agent is certified to handle the probate specialty needs, and that they have more resources available than the average agent would, because they are certified and they are knowledgeable and they are their expert in this particular niche. So that's how I would address that.
Yeah, and Catherine, I will take it one step further. Always when you list the reasons why, and then always follow up with, so that what that means for you is,
Yes.
we'll get the listing done safely, all the proper paperwork. We'll make sure things get approved. I'll work alongside with your attorney, which I've done before. And then you can throw some jargon at them, right? So what that means for you is like your listing is safe with me, right? We've done this before. Yeah. It's a special listing, and I like Kathy. She sent out the executor's duties in the flow chart. You said this is a good flow chart. I'll be with you along the way, every step, with you and with the attorney. And what a lot of agents don't know is that there's only a limited time that you can list a probate real estate, probate property. So I'll make sure we follow everything to the letter of the law.
Yes.
Yeah. And then Tony's
That's
saying
perfect.
a referral. Yeah, Tony's saying a referral fee can be offered. That's interesting. So Tony, are you thinking about paying the relative a referral fee? Is that what you have in mind? I don't think it's necessary. I wouldn't even put that out there. Because what you're saying is like, let me buy the listing instead of saying, let me qualify for the listing.
Well, after you qualify,
yeah,
give your qualifications and things like that, and then if they still.
But why would you give up your hard-earned money to pay the relative off?
Relative.
Why would you give up your hard-earned money to pay the relative?
Well, I've lost listings before because I was told, oh, I have a so-and-so who's a realtor, and I didn't suggest this.
Have you tried that before and it worked for you? Where that you offered them a referral fee?
If I had it, I would have gotten the
Okay.
the listing.
Well, try it out. I mean,
It's not necessary. It's just something I threw out there.
yeah, well, that's interesting. It's interesting. Well, if you ever come across it and you try it out, let us know how it goes.
All right.
Yeah. All right, guys, I think that's it for today. Any other questions, comments, thoughts, hallucinations, anything? No, we're good. All right, so go ahead, Catherine. What was that?
Oh, I was just saying no, thank you though.
Okay, you got it. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to finish up for today. Have a wonderful weekend. Enjoy your open houses or virtual open houses. We'll see you guys next week. Be well, stay safe, and wash those hands. Bye, guys.